As Dennis continues to lurk offshore, conditions here on the beach at Ocean City are almost identical to the way they were Monday and Tuesday. But as windy and rough as it remains, we still have hope that the weather will improve enough to save at least part of the holiday weekend. Right into Memorial Day, and with Memorial Day comes the start of summer. It also brings an unwanted visitor from the tropics, hurricanes. In the Atlantic, hurricane season is the 6 months from June 1st until November the 30th.
A new movie suggests that monster storms caused by rapid climate change could soon decimate our cities. I don't think so, but reality can still be scary.
We're getting wind gusts getting up close to hurricane force.
Last year, there were 16 named storms in the Atlantic Basin. Since 1886, only 6 years have had 16 or more storms.
We've had more tropical storms and more hurricanes in the last 9 years than any other consecutive 9-year period on record. We've also had a lot of major hurricanes. We had 32 major hurricanes over the whole basin.
But amazingly, only 3 have struck land.
So if you look at the odds of this happening again, we're about due for some kind of catastrophic event.
That New Jersey coastline actually scares me. You've got all those beautiful homes there. The development's been tremendous the last couple of decades.
And because of all of that expensive property, New Jersey is working hard to protect the shore.
This is part of the Beacon Island Shore Protection Program. Started in Atlantic City and it continues through the end of Ventnor here. And basically what they're doing is they're putting a dune system in for shore protection and a bigger beach than what we've usually had here.
The peak for hurricane season is September the 10th. That's when the water is at its warmest. Warm water is where hurricanes get their energy from. So it's very difficult early in the season for big storms to form, especially anywhere near the Jersey Shore, because the water is still so cool.
It's not like a winter storm, which takes 3 to 5 days to get up here. A tropical storm can get up here in 12 to 24 hours and wreak havoc.
We don't need a direct hit for there to be big problems. For instance, Felix back in '95.
It didn't get any closer than 256 miles to New Jersey, but it caused more deaths in this state than any hurricane in many, many years. They were all related to rip current deaths.
It's a tough job to predict what a hurricane will do.
Well, we don't really have a good feel for the steering current, and we're doing everything we can to do something about that.
Dr. William Gray has become famous for his seasonal predictions.
It looks like a active season, much like last
Why is that?
year. Well, we think we're in a new era for these storms.
A normal year means 8 to 11 storms. This year, the forecast is for up to 15. Over the years, the seasonal forecast has shown great improvement because we now look at weather globally.
Effects that occur in opposite side of the globe affect us or can influence us locally within a week or two later.
If a hurricane could impact the shore, don't take the threat lightly.
From a standpoint of having a home and living on the beach, they are killers. And unfortunately, they are killers if you don't listen.
Now, if you'd like more information on getting ready for hurricanes, I've got links to some important websites you might want to check out. It's on the weather page at WB17.com.
Yeah, and listening means leaving when there's that warning out there.
Don't stay there. Many people have lost their lives because they will ride it out, and they just can't. It's going to be another busy year.
Good report. Thank you.
Fracking, which is the process of pumping fluid into the ground to extract natural gas.
CBS 21's Kirk Clyatt is live with the Dauphin County Mobile Newsroom in Harrisburg. And Kirk, you've been researching this story since the Ohio quake. How much of an earthquake risk is posed by fracking?
Well, Rob, just as the drill bits for fracking go down through many layers of rock, there are many layers to this story. You know, it just seems so simple. You reach down, you flip the switch, and there is the gas for you. But the more I worked on this story, the more I realized just how a complex issue it is for the state. Now take a look at this. This is the recently signed into law House Bill number 1950. It's the legislation that regulates gas drilling here in Pennsylvania. It's 174 pages long, but nowhere in the bill could I find a mention of earthquakes and how to keep them out of Pennsylvania. The genesis of this story, it came back on New Year's Eve. Near Youngstown here in northeastern Ohio, an earthquake. It registered 4.0 magnitude. It happened at 3:05 this afternoon. Shallow quake, 2.2 kilometers below the surface, so it was felt into Pennsylvania.
This quake did do damage to homes near the epicenter, some suffering large cracks in their floors and foundation.
It's kind of scary.
The Youngstown, Ohio area has no history of any known earthquakes.
The epicenter of the quake was less than a quarter of a mile from a wastewater injection well. Almost immediately, the suspicions began.
A 4.0 magnitude earthquake could be related to fracking near the epicenter.
Political support for getting to the trillions of cubic feet of gas locked in the Marcellus Shale comes from the top down.
We have a supply of natural gas that can last America nearly 100 years.
But as there is more and more fracking, should we expect more and more earthquakes?
The fracking itself is like a mini earthquake. The intense pressure breaks apart the rock and frees up the gas.
But the size of the cracks are tiny, so small that this is the very fine sand that is used.
It moves into the little fractures with the water, and then as the water recedes, the sand grains stay behind, and that props the cracks open.
While they may not look like much, these seismographs are the key to earthquake detection here in Pennsylvania and throughout the world.
This is the way the Youngstown quake looked on a seismograph in Pittsburgh.
It wasn't that surprising because we've seen earthquakes in other parts of the country where the cause of this, which was injection of gas well wastewater, it wasn't fracking, has caused earthquakes.
There are underground injection wells for the disposal of fracking wastewater in Pennsylvania, but not as many as in Ohio. So a lot of Pennsylvania's fracking wastewater is being shipped to Ohio.
Would it be possible for a fracking well in Pennsylvania to cause an earthquake similar to the one that happened in Ohio?
It's much less likely, but there are no absolutes here.
Closing the disposal well in Youngstown has made a huge difference.
The well stopped injecting waste, and the earthquakes have seemed to have gone away. In December, the seismographs were seeing more than 3 tiny earthquakes a day.
Should you be worried if a gas fracking well is near your property?
The chances of any one well causing earthquakes is small. So if you're collecting royalties, you might well make a calculation and say, I'll take the risk and I'll take the royalties.
Here is the bottom line when it comes to earthquakes and fracking.
There are a lot of environmental issues, but earthquakes is not one that would worry me.
Well, at least not here in Pennsylvania, but I did talk to the legal department of the city of Youngstown in Ohio, and most of the city officials there have earthquake insurance, including the mayor. One thing that I was surprised to find out is just how fragile shale rock is. You can literally frack it or break it with your bare hands.
So, Kirk, the question with the Youngstown well shut down, where does all the waste from Pennsylvania go?
Well, amazingly, that was just one of 177 wells in Ohio. So there are other wells that do have capacity for Pennsylvania's wastewater. But something interesting is happening. Seismologists are starting to see in southeastern Ohio near the town of Marietta some of those small 1 to 2 magnitude quakes that happened in the Youngstown area before the big quake on New Year's Eve. An amazingly complicated and complex topic, but so much information for you. The state even has a booklet, Earthquake Hazards in Pennsylvania, you can get. And what we've done is we put a host of links online for you on both sides of this fracking issue. Just go to CBS21.com and click on Find It. Live with the Dauphin County Mobile Newsroom in Harrisburg, I'm Kirk Clyatt, CBS 21 News.
All right, Kirk, thank you.
It's hard to believe it's been now 2 months since the Indian Ocean tsunami devastated parts of Asia. And since that time, a lot of people have wondered, could a tragedy like that ever happen here? We got some surprising answers in tonight's special report.
The scenes of nature's almost incomprehensible power and the immense destruction are still fresh in our minds. Walking along the Jersey Shore, it's easy to wonder, could such waves ever affect us? Has it ever happened in the past? Harry Woodworth with the National Weather Service has been researching East Coast tsunamis for many years.
The attitude was always before it doesn't happen here.
But in fact, he says a tsunami did happen here 25 million years ago when, just like in the fictional movie Deep Impact, an asteroid created a giant wave.
The wave probably went all the way up to the base of the Appalachian Mountains, and what was in what is now New Jersey, Maryland, this region, would have just been wiped out.
Most tsunamis are triggered by undersea earthquakes. Amazingly, the Indian Ocean quake was so strong that all of the world's oceans felt some impact.
Came down through the Indian Ocean and then rounded the Cape of Good Hope and then moved northwest through the South Atlantic into the North Atlantic.
By the time the tsunami waves hit the Jersey Shore, they were only between 3 and 9 inches.
When a tsunami is 3 feet, only 3 feet or greater, that is considered a major tsunami.
Thankfully, most undersea earthquakes, even major quakes over 8 on the Richter scale, don't create large tsunamis. The ones that do are often associated with faults that move up and down along the Earth's plates, moving a massive amount of water upward. In the wake of the recent tragedy, Congress is working on creating a global tsunami warning system.
This is designed to pick up signals all over the ocean, and is designed to help us get out the word in the proper amount of time so people can react.
Here is how it will work. Yellow indicates where the buoys are now in place. Red where the system will expand to, including the Atlantic and especially in the Caribbean with its history of large earthquakes. The buoys could also help detect a tsunami triggered by a volcano or landslide, for instance, in the Cape Verde Islands.
Should the entire flank of the island collapse at one time, there would be a big kaplush, and that would send off the tsunami. If that flank, the southwest flank, should collapse, the push would be toward the United States.
The new warning system would help give us the time we would need.
You would have an 8-hour period where things could be done.
So if you're ever by any calm shoreline and the water suddenly retreats, don't run out to pick up shells. Get to higher ground.
It's not a matter, I don't think, of being worried. It's maybe a matter of being prepared and knowing what to do.